from being part of the team, viewing posts and all that. And it has been very, very encouraging for me to attend your meetings and the trainings. The last one I joined was the one on diabetes. Sorry about my voice. I have a cold, and that's why my voice is sounding so hoarse. But don't worry, I hope you can hear me very well. Can you hear me?
Yes, you can, ma.
All right.
Go ahead.
I'll just get right into it. So I'll be talking to us today on this topic, gut health, focusing focusing on the gut, excuse me, for better health. And I'll be going through the various topics. Next slide, please. Okay, so there's an introduction. I'll talk about what the gut is, why it matters, the gut microbiome and its functions, factors that influence it, the signs of a healthy gut, how disease happens through the gut, and then improving our gut health, and then the takeaways and what next to do. Move on. So the gut is all about how food enters our mouths, and then we expel the leftovers, after the body has taken up what it needs. We now pass it out through feces. So gut health involves the gastrointestinal tract, and the gut rather involves the gastrointestinal tract, and gut health is all about the health of that tract, so from your mouth down to the anus, and then involving the liver as well.
You might start there.
Healthy gut is composed of a balanced gut microbiome. This gut microbiome is the ecosystem in which healthy bacteria live in our bodies. We are conversant with this notion of healthy bacteria in different parts of our bodies. We have them in our mouth, we have them on our skin, we have them in our reproductive organ, in the vagina for women, and they are there. So the human body is made up of so many things, and it's all these things are necessary for appropriate and adequate functioning, and for that person or that individual to be in a state of good health. So this gut microbiome, or this gut health, generally covers diverse aspects of the gastrointestinal tract. So it deals with effective digestion and absorption of food. It also helps to keep away illnesses. I mentioned here that it's GI illnesses, that's gastrointestinal illnesses, but I'll later on let us know that it is not just GI diseases. It's also important for normal and stable microbiota. And then it is effective in our immunities and in the state of well-being. Actually, your gut covers so many aspects of your life. So this is the diagram of the digestive system, ranging from, we can see it from how the food enters our mouths, how we chew the food, and it mixes with the saliva that is in the mouth. The mouth on its own has a group of bacteria too that are specific to it. So along this GI tract, the entire microbiome changes. What is in the mouth is not exactly as the same as what is in the what is in the esophagus. Is not the same as what is in the stomach. It's not the same as what is in the small intestine, the large intestine, and all that. So every region has its own different microbiota, which is important for that aspect, for that region of the body and the function.
Continue, ma'am.
All right. Okay. So we have the salivary glands, rather, that produce the saliva, which contains these starch digesting enzymes called salivary amylase. And then down to the pharynx, every part of this tract is key and very, very important. So we'll dwell a lot on the large intestine, the small intestine, the large intestines, the liver. So let's move on. This is just an overview of what the digestive tract is all about. Okay. All right, so why is the gut important? Why does it matter? You know, the gut is referred to as the second brain. I don't know how many of us here, I believe a lot of us here have felt maybe when we get anxious, we have this thing in our stomach, you just have like a tight feeling, what we call a gut-wrenching feeling. What you're feeling is anxiety, which is in your head, but you're equally experiencing it in your guts. That is in your abdomen. And then you're wondering, what's the connection between the anxiety I'm feeling and what's going on in my stomach? The same thing with probably a young lady or a young man that sees a beautiful woman and then suddenly falls in love. And, butterflies are flying all over the person's stomach. What is going on? What you're seeing is in your eyes. What you're experiencing is in your head. How come you're feeling the butterflies in your tummy? So there's this connection called the gut-brain axis, which is very, very important to everything that we shall be talking about today. Now, what is the connection between the gut and our brain? So through research, we have come to find out that the vagus nerve there is this connection between the gut and the brain through the vagus nerve. That's just one of the connections. There are other connections too, through the endocrine systems, the hormones, and then a final connection. Sorry, give me a second. Through our immune system. So there is this relationship between our guts and our brain, that whatever happens in the gut affects our entire body through the brain. So how does this happen? The vagus nerve is what links the brain to the gut. And this nerve is responsible for carrying feelings, carrying messages from the gut to the brain and back from the brain to the gut. So because of this, it now impacts our health physically and our health mentally. So if there's any disbalance or any imbalance or anything that is affecting this connection, either through the hormones or through the vagus nerve or through stress or through our immune system, then there's going to be there will be an imbalance between what our bodies are presenting and then what you're actually seeing. So we also have, so there are millions, trillions of these microorganisms living inside our bodies. In fact, research has shown that the cells, these microorganisms, they even make up much more. Their population is bigger than the population of the human cell in the human body. They are bigger than us. And we function in this symbiotic relationship. They keep us healthy and keep us going well for our own sake and for the sake of the next person around us. Okay, so I already mentioned to us that these microbiota, they are different along the different parts of the intestines, and they play a huge role in digestion, in our immunity, in our mood. Can you imagine that what's happening in your stomach is responsible for how sad you are, how happy you are, whether you're depressed or whether you're anxious? So the GI microbiota and the GI barrier are key to this health that we are talking about. And I've already talked about these alterations in how it can happen. Excuse me. Okay. So between the cells that line the GI and the rest and the GI barrier and then the microbiota, if there's any what's the English now? If there is any problem affecting that barrier, then there becomes a leakage. And then some of the problems that we are going to be seeing later on are going to start arising. There is also what we call the gut-liver axis. Also very, very important. The liver is key and is responsible for detoxifying gut-derived toxins and microbial products from our guts and from our entire systems. So the portal vein links the guts and the liver. Now, if we are having a problem in our microbiome and there is now this overpopulation of the bad bacteria, to our own detriment, what happens is that the liver is no longer capable of detoxifying the way it should detoxify. It works over time, it does a lot of work, and it doesn't do an adequate work. So you have these bad bacteria now seeping into different organs in the body and beginning to cause problems. When this happens, like I said in that last statement, you're going to have your body system is just disorganized. So a balanced gut translates therefore to better energy, better mood, and an overall health. Next slide. So this next slide is a picture of, next slide. Okay, is a picture of this beautiful young lady, and we can see the various microorganisms that she has in her systems. Just put yourself in her place. You and I, this is exactly what we carry around us, okay? And like I mentioned earlier on, there are trillions of them, bacteria, fungi, viruses, so many different ones doing different things. So what's the function of the gut microbiome? They help us to break down food into nutrients that the body now takes in and makes use of. It supports our immune system and gives us a good immunity so that we can fight diseases and keep disease away from us. It regulates inflammation, okay? For a lot of the chronic diseases all over our systems, inflammation is the baseline. It's from inflammation that a lot of other things come up. Chronic diseases, degenerative diseases, even things like hypertension, diabetes, a lot of them have found ways, inflammation has been found to be a key role in all of these disease states. Now, the last thing that our gut microbiome does for us is that it produces up to 95% of serotonin that the entire human body needs and requires per time. Now, you ask me, what is serotonin? It's a neurotransmitter. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter that helps us stay in a good mood. It keeps us happy, it keeps us working, it keeps us functional, okay? So if your microbiome is defective and there has become an overpopulation of the bad bacteria over the good ones, just know that this serotonin is going to go down. And by going down, you're going to start having issues with your mood, depression, anxiety, sadness, Probably it's also what's responsible for we can we can attribute the high toxicity rate in Nigeria now, even to this problem, because a lot of us now, we can't afford some persons, let me not say a lot of us, some persons cannot afford good and healthy diets. So a lot of people are relying on junk. And by the fact that you're relying on junk, you're already causing a lot of problems for yourself. So you see the average Nigerian right now is so volatile, so toxic, so aggressive. You see that what we put into our mouths plays a big role into how it affects us generally as a community and as individuals. All right. So what are the factors that affect our microbiota? So from this picture, there are two sides to this image projected here. On the side of A, we can see the stomach, the duodenum, the jejunum, and ileum. These are all parts of the small intestine. Then you have the colon. It shows us the pH of these body organs, and then the numbers of the microbiome of the microbiota or the bacteria that are resident in those places. You can see the numbers increasing from the stomach from 10 to the power 1 to 10 to the power 3. By the time it gets to the jejunum, it's about 10 to the power 4, 10 to the power 7. When it gets to the colon, it has just increased geometrically, okay? 10 to the power 9, 10 to the power 11. Some literatures will tell even up to the 10 to the power 14, which is why I mentioned that we have trillions of these bacteria residents and helping us, okay? So now what are the factors that affect no, I'm not done yet. Please go back. What are the factors that affect our microbiota? This thing starts from birth. In fact, it starts from pre-birth. Let me begin from a pregnant woman. You can see the image there of a pregnant woman. And what this pregnant woman eats during her pregnancy goes a long way to affect the baby that she's carrying inside of her. Her mode of delivery too would also play a role, because when this baby now, it's time for this baby to be born, and this woman gives birth, you know, per vaginum, through the vagina, normal delivery. As this baby is coming out, there are chances that this baby is going to begin to swallow some of the fluids that are in that vaginal canal as he or she is coming out. So that's where they talked about this mode of delivery being a part of what's going on. Now, the next thing is that this child is still an infant. So even from infancy, even up until childhood, there is still a huge role to be played, in that a child that is breastfed and a child that is given formula feeds from birth, their microbiotas are not the same. That child that is being breastfed from birth, 24 hours, in fact, literature says, and what the WHO recommends is 30 minutes. Within 30 minutes to an hour of birth, the baby should be put to the breast, okay? So this baby starts sucking and begins to build upon the microbiota that he or she already has from they've been swallowing a long time ago. While they are in utero, they've been swallowing, you know, amniotic fluid and equally helping themselves to build their microbiota. So from that swallowing in utero to the swallowing through the birth canal, from breast milk, and for the next 6 months, that child is building his or her microbiome, and it's better and healthier than that of a child that has been exposed to water or formula feeds. The bad thing about formula feeds is that these babies, no matter how good they make them, their bodies cannot digest that formula feed, you know. And the good thing too is that those that produce these things would always tell us that breast milk is best for your baby. But for some reasons, health reasons, economic status, whatever, some of us still choose not to breastfeed our babies or to breastfeed them adequately for up to the two years that is recommended. Okay, so that's that for mode of delivery. I've covered that mode of delivery with, you know, the feeding of the child from birth to 6 months to 2 years. So as this child is growing, what then does the child begin to eat as he or she grows? Are we exposing them to junk foods, you know, high sugar, extra processed foods? Or are we introducing them to vegetables, fruits, and all that? Mind you, I started by telling us that even the pregnant woman, what she eats affects her baby. These babies, even in utero, they begin to know the taste of vegetables as their mothers consume them. So you see mothers that will come and tell us in the hospitals or in the clinics that, see, this my child, I've been struggling to feed he or her vegetables, he or she does not take. The next question you should ask that mother is, Madam, did you eat these things while you were pregnant? Because the children, they get exposed to these tastes in utero. When they now grow, it doesn't become, it's a continuous thing. It's not strange to them anymore, okay? So we should eat healthy diets from childhood to adulthood. And then we go on to see, what's your gastric motility like? How often do you use the toilet? Do you train yourself to use the toilet once a day, twice a day? Or are you comfortable going 2 days, 3 days without even having to use the toilet? All these play a role in your gut microbiota, okay? What about your age? I've already talked about it, from infancy to adulthood. And even as one gets older, one becomes a little bit more sedentary, okay? Doesn't move around as much, is more seated, less active and all that. And even the fact that you're getting old age is coming in, it begins to affect your microbiota. But if you've been building it from infancy, from when you were still much younger, it helps you even all through that time that you are already an older person, okay? Now, what about the role of medications in our microbiota? We are at a time right now worldwide, globally, that antibacterial resistance has become a serious problem. And I want to believe that in Nigeria, our case is even more pathetic because we abuse drugs so much. We do a lot of self-medication. Nobody has time for the stress of general hospitals. Nobody has money for, few persons have monies for, good healthcare. The insurance system, we have been told, is not working the way it should work. So people go back to the system of, let me just go to that chemist, let me just go to that, let me consult that my doctor friend, like some of them will be calling me. Let me consult that my doctor friend and ask her, please, what do I take? What do I do? You see that one or two, in some occasions, we've not actually been helping ourselves, because by the time we start doing this, we are causing this imbalance that I'm talking about that goes a long way to impact our health. What about stress? The state of the nation right now is enough stress for everybody. So we have to even put more measures in place to control our stress levels, because stress directly impacts your microbiota. The more stressed you are, the poorer your microbiome is going to be. And it's, it's just a vicious cycle. It goes back to affect your health. When you're stressed, you're in an inflammatory state. You are predisposing yourself to a lot of all the chronic diseases that come along with it. Now, fuel prices are high. So some of us have turned to doing more exercises than we should. We walk a little more than we should. We have packed our cars. We take public transports. We ride bicycles. So many things is good. So you see that inadvertently, one way or the other, the Nigerian system, in spite of the stress that it is giving us, is helping us to become more active, and it's also helping us to the way, giving us a little bit of help in the way we should go. So exercise is very, very important. It doesn't matter how little you're doing it. It doesn't matter how much. Just keep yourself moving in your house, through a gym registration, whichever one that is comfortable, that you're okay with. Just keep your body moving. And it's important you move. Let those around you be moving too. Your children, your husband, your spouse, your colleagues, your bosses, get them to move. When you get to the office, don't be so quick to use the lift or the elevator. Take the flight of steps, walk around. When you sit down for so long on the system, after 1 hour, 2 hours, stand up, move around, get your body moving. Now, your host genetics is also part of it, of course. The genes of our parents, play a big role into who we eventually get to be. So that's that. And then your geographical location, whether you're in Africa, whether you're in Europe, whether you're in America, there are different things that we are exposed to that alter, our microbiota to based on our location. Next slide. Next slide, please. All right, so what are the signs of a healthy gut? Okay, we are talking about gut health. What are the signs? How do I know that my gut is healthy, that I've not finished killing all the good bacteria that I have inside of me that are supposed to be agents of battle and victory for me? How do I know that I have a good health? The first thing here says regular and pain-free bowel movements. So this person is not having constipation or is not having diarrhea. Regularly, on the average, goes to the toilet, once a day to pass stool, okay? The person has a consistent energy level. Oh, last week I was so exhausted. Yesterday I don't know what happened. I was so weak. I was so tired. I was so, you meet certain persons, they are always weak. They've not done anything hectic. They wake up weak. Even before before it's midday, they're already tired and exhausted and all that. So if you have a consistent energy level, it's a good sign that your gut health is top notch and is working well. So how often do you pass gas, and how often are you bloated? Are you always bloated? Do you pass gas, normally? Or if you pass the gas, is it always smelly? Some gases, when passed, they are not smelly. There are some that, wow, it's topic for another day, okay? So by the time you start experiencing all of that, you know that your gut health is either healthy or not healthy. What is your bowel transit time? Some persons have made a habit of, first thing in the morning, they get to the toilet, they sit down, they do their business, and that's it. The next day is the same thing. So for persons like that, they have a consistently good, well, I would call that a good bowel habit, once a day. At a particular time, their bodies have adjusted to whatever they ate the day before. It's time to pass it out and then go ahead. But if you're now having diarrhea or you're having constipation, that's a sign that you're not having a good health. What's your mental state like? Are you having brain fog, or are you mentally alert and having clarity in everything that you're doing part-time, okay? What's your reaction to food and to stress, like I've already mentioned earlier on? Next slide. So these are all signs of a healthy gut. So I'll talk now on how diseases come about from an unhealthy gut. The symptoms, like I mentioned earlier on, now for unhealthy gut are you have bloating, you just feel stomach pain, and you feel better when you pass gas. That's basically what bloating is about, okay? Constipation, diarrhea, always tired, fatigue, brain fog, you can't think clearly. There's just this, I don't know, you just hear yourself saying, I'm not thinking clearly, I'm not thinking clearly. Then you have a poor immunity, frequent cold. Mine is not due to poor gut health, though. Please, let me just say that before you people will say now that her gut health is not good and she's teaching us gut health, okay? Mine is not due to that. All right. So those are the symptoms. So how does disease then ensue? There's a diagram I'll show us later, but it first starts by whenever there is this imbalance now between the good bacteria and the bad bacteria from the factors that I mentioned earlier on, and the bad bacteria become so numerous, their population overtakes the good ones, then you're beginning to have problems. That's what is step 2, which is called microbial dysbiosis. You have more of bad bacteria than the good bacteria. And what this will cause is there is then a reduced diversity. So the trillions of the healthy microbiota that you have been diminished or slashed, and they're not as numerous as they used to be, and in different types as they're supposed to be. You have more of these pantobiotes, which are the bad ones, okay? Step 3 is now that barrier I mentioned earlier on that now becomes leaky. So you now have a dysfunctional intestinal barrier. The bad microorganisms begin to seep into the blood vessels, and as this blood goes through the rest of the body and comes back, they seep into different organs, and they begin to cause problems for us. These bad bacteria in their high numbers, due to this intestinal barrier, begin to cause immune deactivation. You have oxidative stress, and then you have an increased number of inflammatory mediators. All this summarizes to inflammation in your system. And then you have diseases like type 2 diabetes mellitus, non-alcoholic liver disease, which is a problem right now even in our country, mental diseases, states like anxiety, depression, obesity, autoimmune diseases, even things like, degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease. Gut health has been indicated and has been found too to also play a role in those type of diseases. So this is an image showing us what I'm talking about. By the left, you see the healthy you see the healthy barrier, and then in the middle there, you see the spaces in between those cells and how the bad bacteria, the red ones, are beginning to seep up and to come out, and they cause problems as they find their ways to different parts of the bodies. Next slide. So this is, a picture of an unhealthy gut versus a good health. I'm using the example of diabetes and obesity to demonstrate it here. It's similar to the image I just posted earlier on. You can see on the left, by the blue side, you see eubiosis. That's a normal and healthy microbiome ecosystem. Everything is fine. There is no leakage. There's nothing going up. The top part, you have the microbiota. They are doing well, and everything is going on well. Your system is top notch. You're not having liver problems. There's no fat deposition. There's reduced inflammation. Your metabolism is functioning well. There's good insulin sensitivity. There's homeostasis. Everything is functioning well. If you look at the other side of the image, you have this obese and diabetic person with dysbiosis, which gives rise to opportunistic infections and bacteria. There's inflammation, there's fatty deposition, non-alcoholic liver disease is setting in, inflammation is going on, the macrophage inflammation is high, there's dyslipidemia, there's insulin resistance, and the list can go on. This is just an example using obesity. There are others, if you want it, in Alzheimer's, autoimmune diseases, anxiety, depression, so many others. So let's move on now to finally talk about how can we then improve our gut health now that we know all of these things, and how what role then can you play in making sure that I'm not shooting myself in the foot and causing problems for myself, my children, and those around me. The first and important thing is that you must focus on your microbiome. Now that we know that these things exist in us and they are for our own good, okay? So we have to give them maximum attention. And we do this by consuming pre- and probiotic foods. These are foods that will help those bacteria to grow very well. The image I have there, the very first one, talks about the prebiotics and the probiotics. So examples of our prebiotics, we'll see them in things like onions, in garlics, bananas, in legumes. They are very, very rich in prebiotics, okay? While for probiotics too, we have things like yogurts, a lot of fermented foods. Some of the fermented foods we have in Nigeria, we have our pap, our what's it called, drinks, kunu zaki, kunu millets, all of those kunu things. They are very, very rich and very, very good. So we should do away with carbonated drinks, alcohol, and focus. And I like that, yes, in a lot of places now in Nigeria, a lot of us are beginning to learn some of these things, and we're increasing our intake of, our locally made drinks that are actually healthy. Kunu is a very, very good example of them. Zobo drinks are very, very good examples of them, okay? So pickled foods like pickled olives, pickled cucumbers, pickled cabbages, they are very, very good. Examples of these in our Nigerian diet, we have superfoods like our baobab, very, very wonderful superfood, rich in probiotics, extremely rich in probiotics, okay? So we need to also increase our servings of vegetables on a daily basis. So per meal, make sure that you're having some vegetables on your plate. And we have so many good ones. Cucumbers already, all these foods that we consume raw, the truth is that they're actually rich in these good, what do you call them? These good bacteria that I'm talking about. You have them in their bodies. Now, for example, if you watch videos of those that make yogurt, we want to teach you how to make yogurt in the house, for example. Some of the things that you use as culture for your yogurt is lemon. Okay, so if you've boiled your milk and you want to use lemon, or you want to use chili pepper, green chili pepper, those things that have, these are our raw fruits and vegetables, they have these good bacteria on their bodies, okay? So when you store them in that manner, like you use them in yogurt, for instance, you just cut a slice of your lemon and you use it in making your yogurt. It goes a long way to that gut health that I'm talking about. That's why you see when we make salads now, we are encouraged to include lemon zest in our salads and in our foods as well too. So you just get a grater and you grate your lemon, having washed it very well. You just grate it into your salads and it gives it a little tangy, sour flavor, but it's also very, very good. You're incorporating good bacteria into what you're doing. So these vegetables, whether you're consuming them stir-fried or you're consuming them raw or you're consuming them steamed, but do not overcook them. All right, do not overcook them. So just a little heat, and they are still very, very healthy and they're good to go. We need to be drinking a lot of water, a lot of water. Ideally, for adults, males and females, females should be consuming up to 2.7 liters of water, while males up to 3 liters of water. And thank God now we are in the Harmattan season and the dry season. We need to be very, very conscious about the amount of water that we take on a daily basis. But mind you, do not drink a lot of water while you're eating. And the reason is simple, so that you do not swallow a lot of the saliva and the bacteria that are meant to help digest your food and give you a good response. You use water to wash all of them down. So ideally, you drink 30 minutes before you eat and 30 minutes after you eat, okay? And then we need to learn how to enjoy our meal. For example, I went to a boarding school, and you know how life is in boarding school. You don't have time to eat. You just have to rush your food. If not, you're late for the next activity. So while I was there, I learned to eat. My food gets consumed in less than 1 minute to 2 minutes tops. I'm done eating. It's now that I'm an adult, I had to start learning how to actually enjoy my meal. Sit down, be mindful about your food. Keep it down, enjoy the colors, enjoy the taste, chew every bit that you have bitten, and enjoy your meal. While you're doing this, you're eating slowly and, you're helping yourself. Next slide. Okay, so we need to, of course, at this stage, we know that, artificial sugars and anything processed should be out, is not part of this discussion. They should be limited. You can enjoy them once in a while, just indulge in them once in a while, but no, it shouldn't be a daily thing, okay? Work towards a regular bowel movement, like I mentioned earlier on daily. Eat diversity of foods. I really thank God for the state in which we are in now, really, really, in Nigeria. A lot of us, because of the high rates of chronic diseases and non-communicable diseases already in the system, we are beginning to be more conscious of our health. So a lot of us are taking more grains, and Nigeria is so blessed with grains. We have so many different types of grains. You have our brown rice, our white rice, our guinea corn, our maize, our oats, our fonio, what we popularly know as acha. Very, very rich, very, very healthy. So we need to go all the way with this. We started using it to make swallows, okay? You blend and you make your swallow. You use it for your soup. Very, very good. Seeds too, like sesame seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, even your melon, egusi. These are all seeds that are very, very helpful. We have learned to incorporate them more into our diets. What about herbs that we use in cooking? So as opposed to when foods used to be either salty or not salty, right now a lot of people are learning to cook with herbs, like you have scent leaves, you have oregano, you have dill, you have coriander. There's so many of them. And if you incorporate these into your meals, gradually you begin to find out that, you really do not need a lot of salt in your food. And you can actually do without things like these bouillon cubes, Maggies and Knorrs and the rest of them. You actually can remove them from your food as you cook them. All right. Then the next thing is, of course, I've already talked about managing your stress levels. So we need to learn how to breathe. Breathe in through your nose, breathe out through your mouth. From time to time during the day, just take out time to just distress. And breathing is a very, very powerful way of distressing. Just, 1, 2, 3 times, 4 times per session, and you do it morning, afternoon, evening. It goes a long way. See, you are not the cause of Nigeria's problem, and you're not the one that is going to solve the issues that we are facing right now. So manage your stress for the sake of your family, for the sake of your own health, for the sake of those that are waiting for you. People need you around, and you cannot come and just do anyhow. So Don't allow anybody to put stress on top of your head. When you're tired, you're tired. You take a break, rest, sleep, and enjoy your sleep. Tomorrow, the day continues, the battle continues. You wake up after being well rested. You face the work of the day and you give it maximum energy, and you are off and you're going. All right, then we need to limit foods that cause allergens. One thing I forgot to mention, which I'm going to mention now, is when we expose our little ones, our babies, to processed foods, formula foods to be precise, we are actually making them more allergen prone. That's what research has shown us. We are actually making them more allergy prone. So number one food there that is an allergen is actually cow's milk. So a lot of us that are middle-aged and elderly now, you really do not need a lot of milk, a lot of cow milk, okay? You can do with plant-based milk like soy milk, oat milk, almond milk. They are very, very good and healthy. Eggs and other problems. Wheat too is also an allergen. Fish. So if you discover that you're allergic to anything, any diet, please remove it from your diet. Some people are allergic to seafoods, certain seafoods, or certain nuts. You can remove them. We are so blessed. God gave us many, many things and several options. So you're no longer eating cow's milk, but there is soy milk, there is bambara nut milk, there is rice milk. There's so many other things that you can take to boost up your calcium levels. See, this baobab that I talked about has even more milk, even more calcium than cow's milk. So I'm seriously advertising baobab. I don't know if BDCP has any business with baobab, but I have found it very, very helpful in my life. And so I'm a very, very big advocate of it. So let's go out there and find it, okay, and incorporate it into our diet. So what's the next slide? I would just leave us with this quote from Chris Carr. Next slide. This quote from Chris Carr. She's an author and a best-selling author, New York bestseller, okay? She has done a lot of work too in, she's a wellness advocate and a cancer survivor. And this is what she had to say concerning our gut health. Quite literally, your gut is the epicenter of your mental and physical health. If you want better immunity, efficient digestion, improved clarity and balance, focus on rebuilding your gut health. So start today, take it one step at a time. Nobody is perfect, but we are all working towards perfection. I want to choose to believe that I've left you tonight, or this afternoon or evening rather, with this message on improving your gut health, and that you're actually going to take it personal and work on it. Thank you very much. Any